The message that shouldn't have mattered. The first time I saw his name, it didn't mean anything. Just another notification lighting up my wife's phone while we were sitting on the couch half watching some forgettable Netflix show neither of us was really paying attention to. Megan was curled up beside me, her legs tucked under a blanket, scrolling absent-mindedly. I remember glancing over, not suspicious, not even curious, just the kind of glance you make when you've been married long enough that privacy isn't something you think about anymore. That's when I saw it. Mark Ellison sent you a message. She froze. It was subtle. Most people wouldn't have noticed. But when you've spent 8 years with someone, you start picking up on the smallest shifts, like the way her thumb hovered just a second too long over the screen before she tapped it. "Who's Mark?" I asked, casual. "Too casual, maybe." She didn't look at me right away. "Oh," she said, like she was brushing off dust. "Just someone from college." I nodded. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. We lived in a quiet suburb outside Denver. The kind of place where everything looks stable from the outside: neatly trimmed lawns, identical mailboxes, neighbors who wave but don't really know you. Our life fit that mold. I worked in commercial real estate, long hours, predictable stress, good money. Megan worked part-time at a local design studio. She used to be full-time before our daughter Lily was born, but things shifted after that. That's how life goes, I guess. You make adjustments. You tell yourself it's temporary, and then one day you realize it's been years. Megan used to be louder, not literally, but there was a kind of energy about her when we first met. She had opinions about everything: music, art, where we should travel someday. She used to talk about starting her own design firm, about moving to a bigger city, about not settling. I used to love that about her. I still did, I think. "Is that someone you were close to?" I asked, still watching the TV. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her type something quickly. "No," she said. "Not really." Another pause. Then she added, "We just had a few classes together." Something about the way she said it felt rehearsed. But I didn't push. Because why would I? That night after Lily went to bed, Megan stayed up later than usual. I noticed because she normally falls asleep before me. Always has. But when I came out of the bedroom around midnight to get a glass of water, she was still on the couch. The TV was off now. The room was dim except for the glow of her phone. "You coming to bed?" I asked. "Yeah, in a minute," she said quickly. Too quickly. I stood there for a second, waiting. I don't know what for. Maybe for her to look up, smile, say something normal. She didn't. Her eyes stayed locked on the screen. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah," she said, not looking up. "Just catching up with someone." Catching up. That phrase lingered longer than it should have. "From college?" I asked. She nodded. "Yeah, I went back to bed, but I didn't sleep right away." There's a strange kind of awareness that creeps in when something feels off but you can't explain why. It's not suspicion. Not yet. It's just a shift, like a floorboard creaking where it never used to. Over the next few days, things stayed mostly the same, on the surface. We still had dinner together, still talked about Lily's school, groceries, bills, still functioned like a normal couple. But underneath, something had changed. Megan started smiling at her phone more. Not big smiles, small ones, private ones, the kind you don't share. One night, I walked into the kitchen and saw her laughing quietly at something on her screen. "What's so funny?" I asked. She looked up, almost startled. "Oh, nothing," she said, "just a meme." I nodded, but she didn't show it to me. That's when the thought first crossed my mind. Not fully formed, just a whisper. Why didn't she show me? I brushed it off. Because that's what you do. You don't jump to conclusions, you trust. Right? A week later we were having dinner when Lily asked, "Mom, why are you always on your phone now?" Kids have a way of saying things adults avoid. Megan blinked. "I'm not always on my phone," she said lightly. "You are," Lily insisted, "even when we're watching movies." I glanced at Megan. She laughed it off. "Okay, maybe a little," she admitted. "I'll try to be better." But she didn't meet my eyes. That night, I finally asked, directly, "Are you talking to that guy a lot?" I said, leaning against the bathroom door while she brushed her teeth. She paused. Just for a second, then resumed. "Not really." "How not really?" she sighed, spitting into the sink. "Jake, it's just catching up. That's it." I nodded slowly. "Okay." But something in my chest didn't settle. Because it wasn't just that she was talking to him, it was how. The secrecy, the small pauses, the way her attention seemed elsewhere. "You can show me if you want," I said, trying to keep my tone light. She turned to me, eyebrows raised. "Show you what? The messages?" Her expression changed. Not dramatically, but enough. "Why would I need to do that?" she asked. I shrugged. "You wouldn't. I just thought—" "No," she cut in. "That's weird, Jake." We stood there for a moment, something unspoken settling between us. "I trust you," I said. She softened slightly. "I know." But she still didn't show me. That was the moment something shifted inside me. Not into anger. Not yet. Into awareness. Because trust isn't just about believing someone wouldn't hurt you. It's about feeling like they have nothing to hide. And for the first time in our marriage, I felt like my wife was hiding something. I didn't know then how far it would go, how something as small as a Facebook message could unravel everything we had built, but I would, soon enough. Because some lines, once crossed, don't just blur, they disappear completely, the lines that quietly disappear. If you had asked me 2 weeks earlier whether I trusted my wife, I wouldn't have hesitated. I would have said yes without thinking, not because I was naive, but because trust had never been something we questioned. It was just there, like the walls of our house, solid, unnoticed, constant. Now, I noticed everything. It started small. It always does. Megan began taking her phone with her everywhere. And I don't mean in the normal way. We all do that. I mean everywhere. Bathroom, laundry room, even quick trips to take out the trash. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. Then I started paying attention. One night, she left her phone on the kitchen counter while she went upstairs to help Lily with homework. It buzzed. Just once. That soft, familiar vibration. I wasn't trying to snoop. At least, that's what I told myself. I was just standing there. And the screen lit up. Mark Ellison. I still think about that night sometimes. My chest tightened. Not in a dramatic, explosive way. More like something slowly squeezing from the inside. I didn't touch the phone, didn't open the message. I didn't need to, because that one sentence said enough. That night. What night? I heard footsteps upstairs and stepped away from the counter like I had done something wrong. Like I was the one hiding something. When Megan came back down, she picked up her phone immediately, too quickly. Her eyes scanned the screen, and I saw it, that tiny flicker of something. Not surprise, not confusion, recognition. "Everything okay?" I asked, keeping my voice even. "Yeah," she said, locking the phone. "Just work stuff." "Work." "Right." I nodded. Said nothing. But something inside me had shifted again. Deeper this time. That night, I didn't confront her. I didn't ask about the message. I didn't even mention his name. Instead, I lay in bed beside her, staring at the ceiling while she slept. Or pretended to. Because I could feel it. That invisible distance between us growing wider. The next few days were worse. Not because anything obvious happened. But because everything subtle did. She laughed more at her phone. She checked it more often. She started turning the screen away slightly when I walked by. Not in a dramatic, obvious way. Just enough. And the thing about subtle changes is, they're harder to call out. Because you sound paranoid. Insecure. I didn't want to be that guy. But I also couldn't ignore what I had seen. So one evening after Lily had gone to bed, I finally said it. "Who is he to you?" Megan looked up from the couch, startled. "What?" "Mark," I said. "Who is he really?" She stared at me for a second. "Too long." "I told you," she said. "We went to college together." I shook my head slightly. "No, that's not what I'm asking." Silence. "What are you asking then?" she said, her tone tightening. I held her gaze. I saw the message. There it was. No going back now. Her expression changed. Not dramatically, but enough. "You went through my phone?" she asked. "No," I said quickly. "It popped up. I didn't even open it." She crossed her arms. "What message?" I hesitated, then said it. "He said he still thinks about that night." The words hung in the air. Heavy. For a moment, she didn't speak. Didn't move. Then she looked away. "It's nothing," she said. That word again. Nothing. "It didn't sound like nothing," I replied. She exhaled sharply. "Jake, it was years ago. Before you. It doesn't matter." "What happened?" I asked. She hesitated. Then said, "We dated. Briefly. That's it. Dated, that's not what that message sounded like, I said. Her jaw tightened. You're reading too much into it. Then explain it, I said. Silence. I don't owe you every detail of my past, she snapped. That stung. Not because she was wrong, but because of how she said it. I'm not asking for every detail, I said quietly. I'm asking why he's messaging you like that now. She didn't answer right away. Because we reconnected, she said finally. We were just talking, catching up. And now he's talking about that night, I asked. Her eyes flashed. It's not like that. Then what is it like? I pressed. Another pause. Then, softer this time, I don't know. That answer felt worse than anything else she could have said. Because I don't know means something is happening. Even if she won't name it. You've been talking to him a lot, I said. She didn't deny it. He reached out, she said. I didn't plan this. But you're continuing it, I replied. Silence again. I'm allowed to talk to someone from my past, she said, quieter now. Yes, I agreed. You are. I stepped closer. But not like this. Her eyes met mine. And for the first time there was something in them I hadn't seen before. Conflict. Like what? She asked. Like something you wouldn't show me, I said. That landed, I could tell. She looked down. It's not physical, she said. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because of how predictable that line was. I didn't ask if it was physical, I said. She looked back up. That's not the only way to cross a line, Megan. Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. I'm not cheating on you, she said. I held her gaze. But are you being honest with me? That question stayed between us longer than anything else, because she didn't answer right away. And in that silence, I got my answer. I don't know what you want me to say, she whispered. I want you to tell me the truth, I said. Her voice broke slightly. I don't even know what the truth is anymore. That was the moment everything became real. Because this wasn't just about messages or an old boyfriend. This was about something deeper, something already slipping out of my hands. Do you have feelings for him? I asked. She closed her eyes. Just for a second. I don't know, she said. There it was. Not denial, not reassurance, just uncertainty. And sometimes, uncertainty is worse than betrayal. Because betrayal is clear, final. Uncertainty means it's still happening. That night, we didn't fight. We didn't yell. We didn't throw accusations back and forth. We just sat there, on opposite ends of the same couch, like two people who suddenly realized they weren't as close as they thought they were. Later, as we got into bed, I turned off the light. The room fell into darkness. Megan, I said quietly. Yeah? If this keeps going, I hesitated. You're going to lose me. She didn't respond, but I felt her shift beside me. And in that silence, I knew something had already started to break. Not loudly, not all at once, but slowly, quietly, like something cracking beneath the surface, just waiting for the moment it finally gives way. The moment everything breaks. There's a point in every relationship where you stop asking if something is wrong and start asking how bad it really is. I reached that point on a Thursday. I remember because Thursdays were usually predictable. I get home around 6:30, Megan would already be there, Lily would be doing homework at the kitchen table, and dinner would be halfway done. Routine. Safe. That Thursday, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Megan, I called as I stepped inside. No answer. Lily came down the stairs a second later. Dad? Hey, I said, forcing a smile. Where's Mom? She went out, Lily said. That wasn't unusual on its own. What for? Lily shrugged. She said she had to meet someone. My chest tightened. Did she say who? Another shrug. No. I nodded slowly. Okay. I didn't ask anything else, because I already knew. Or at least, I thought I did. I made dinner. Something simple. Pasta. Lily talked about school. I nodded at the right moments, smiled when I was supposed to. But my mind wasn't there. It was somewhere else, filling in blanks I didn't want to fill. What if she's with him? The thought came uninvited, and once it was there, it didn't leave. By 9:15, Megan still wasn't home. I texted her. Me. Everything okay? No response. At 9:42, I called. Straight to voicemail. That's when something inside me shifted. Not panic. Not yet. Something colder. At 10,018, I heard the front door. I was already standing in the living room, waiting. She walked in slowly, like she knew. Hey, she said, too casual. Hey, I replied, not casual at all. She set her keys down, avoided my eyes. Where were you? I asked. She hesitated, just for a second. Out, she said. I let out a quiet breath. That's not an answer. She looked at me then. I told you, I had to meet someone. Who? Silence. And then, I ran into Mark. The words landed like a punch, not because I didn't expect them, but because of how easily she said it. Ran into him, I repeated. She nodded. Yeah. I stared at her. Where? She hesitated again. Too long. Downtown. She said. Another lie. I could feel it, not prove it. But feel it. You just ran into him, I said slowly. Yeah. And then what? We talked, she said. That's it. That's it, I echoed. She crossed her arms. Why are you interrogating me? Because you're lying. But I didn't say that. Instead, I asked the question that mattered. Did you plan to see him? Silence. Her eyes dropped, and that was enough. Did you? I pressed. Yes, she said quietly. There it was, the truth. Not the whole truth, but enough. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. She shook her head slightly. Because I knew you'd react like this. Like what? I snapped. Like a husband whose wife is meeting another man behind his back? Her expression hardened. It's not like that. Then what is it like, Megan? I demanded. Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like that. Silence. We just talked, she said. About what? Everything, she replied. Life. The past. The night he still thinks about? I shot back. She flinched. That was a long time ago, she said. That didn't sound like the past, I said. Her voice rose slightly. You're twisting this. No, I said quietly. I think I'm finally seeing it clearly. We stood there, the tension thick enough to choke on. Did you touch him? I asked. Her eyes snapped to mine. What? Did you touch him? I repeated. Silence. That silence said everything, Megan. We hugged, she said quickly. I stared at her. Just a hug, she added. Just a hug, she added. Just a hug. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Do you hear yourself? It was nothing, she insisted. Then why didn't you tell me? I asked again. Because it wasn't nothing. She didn't answer. Instead, she said something that changed everything. I felt like myself again. The words hit harder than anything else. What? I said. When I was with him, she continued, her voice shaking now, I felt like the person I used to be. That wasn't anger. That was something deeper. And it cut straight through me. So that's what this is? I said slowly. You're trying to find yourself with him? No, she said quickly. It's not about him. Then why him? I asked. Silence. Because it was. He remembers me, she whispered. I felt something inside me break. I remember you, I said. She shook her head, tears forming now. No, you remember who I became. That wasn't fair. And maybe it was. I'm your husband, I said, my voice tightening. Not some guy from your past. I know, she said. Then act like it. The words came out sharper than I intended. Her expression changed. Something defensive, something tired. I didn't cheat on you, she said. I took a step closer, but you're standing right on the edge. Silence. And the worst part? I added quietly. She looked at me. You don't even seem sure which side you want to be on. That landed. Because she didn't deny it. Instead, she said something I'll never forget. I don't know how to come back from this. My chest tightened. You stop, I said. Is it that simple? She asked. Yes, I said firmly. You stop talking to him. You stop seeing him. You choose this us. She looked at me. Really looked at me. And for a moment, I thought she would say yes, but then she hesitated. And that hesitation was louder than any answer. I need time, she said. Time. To choose between her husband and another man. I stepped back. No, I said. Her eyes widened slightly. No, she repeated. You don't get time for this, I said. Not like this. My voice was steady now. Cold. Clear. You either end it, I continued, or you lose me. Silence filled the room. I'm serious, Megan? She swallowed hard. I don't want to lose you, she said. Then don't. I replied. Another pause. I just don't know what I feel right now. That was it. That was the moment everything broke. Because love doesn't survive indecision like that. Not for long. I nodded slowly. Then maybe you need to figure it out, I said. Her voice trembled. What does that mean? It means I'm not going to stand here, I said, while you decide if I'm enough. Tears slipped down her face. Jake, I shook my head. No. I turned away, walked toward the bedroom. Because if I stayed, I might say something I couldn't take back, or worse, I might stay anyway, and I couldn't do that. Not like this. That night, we didn't sleep in the same room. For the first time in 8 years. And somewhere in the quiet, heavy darkness, I realized something I had been avoiding. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a choice, and she hadn't chosen me. Not yet. What remains after the truth? The house felt unfamiliar the next morning, not because anything had physically changed, but because something invisible had. Megan was already awake when I stepped into the kitchen. She stood by the counter, holding a mug she wasn't drinking from. Her eyes looked tired, not from lack of sleep, but from something heavier. Guilt. Or maybe realization. Morning, she said quietly. Morning. We stood there for a moment, like two people trying to remember how to exist in the same space again. I didn't sleep, she admitted. Me neither. Another silence. I've been thinking, she said. I leaned against the counter, bracing myself. Yeah? Her fingers tightened around the mug. I ended it. I frowned slightly. With him? She nodded. Last night. After everything. Something in my chest shifted. Not relief. Not yet. What does ended it mean? I asked. I told him we can't talk anymore, she said. That it's not fair. That I need to fix what I've already damaged. Her voice cracked slightly on the last word. Damaged. That's good, I said. And I meant it. But something still didn't settle. Do you mean it? I asked. She looked at me, hurt flickering across her face. Yes. That's not what I'm asking, I said gently. Silence. I mean it, she repeated, softer this time. But I'm also confused. There it was again, that word. And suddenly I felt tired. Not angry, not even hurt in the sharp way I had been the night before. Just tired. I can't compete with confusion, Megan, I said quietly. Her eyes filled. I'm not asking you to. Then what are you asking? I replied. She struggled for words. I'm asking for a chance to fix this. I studied her, really studied her. This wasn't the same woman who had been defensive, guarded, distant. This was someone who understood, at least partly, what she had almost lost. And him? I asked. Are you done thinking about him too? She hesitated. Just slightly. I can't erase how I felt, she said honestly. But I can choose what I do about it. That answer wasn't perfect. But it was real. And for the first time since all of this started, she wasn't hiding behind nothing. She was telling the truth. I don't expect you to trust me right away, she continued. I know I broke something. You did, I said. Her eyes dropped. I know. Another silence. I need to ask you something, I said. She nodded. Okay. When you were with him, I paused, choosing my words carefully. Were you hoping for something more? Her breath caught, and for a moment, I thought she might lie, but she didn't. Yes, she whispered. That hurt, deep. But I nodded. Thank you for being honest, I said. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I hate that answer. Me too, I admitted. We stood there, the truth, sitting between us raw, uncomfortable, but finally visible. I didn't realize how far I'd gone until last night, she said. Until I saw your face. I didn't respond. I thought I was just reconnecting, she continued, but I wasn't. I was escaping. That word hit something inside me. From what? I asked. She looked around the kitchen, then back at me. From feeling invisible, she said. The same word, different context. I didn't know you felt that way, I said quietly. I didn't know how to say it, she replied. We were both standing in the ruins of something we hadn't taken care of properly. And now? I asked. Her voice steadied. Now I know I don't want to lose this. Not for something that wasn't real. And us? I pressed. She stepped closer. I want us, she said. Simple, clear. but not easy. Because wanting something isn't the same as fixing it. I don't know if I can just go back to how things were, I said. I don't want that either, she replied. That surprised me. I want something better, she said. Something honest, even if it's harder. I let out a slow breath. For the first time, this didn't feel like an argument. It felt like a choice, a real one. I need time, I said. She nodded immediately. I understand. I'm not leaving, I added, but I'm not pretending everything is okay either. That's fair, she said. We stood there, closer now. Not fixed, but not broken in silence anymore. That day we talked more than we had in months. Not about Mark, not about blame, about everything we had stopped saying. The small resentments, the missed moments, the ways we had slowly drifted without realizing it. And for the first time, we listened. Not to respond, but to understand. It wasn't dramatic. No big gestures. No instant healing. Just two people, finally being honest. Weeks passed. Trust didn't come back all at once. It came in small moments. When she left her phone on the table without turning it over. When she told me who she was texting without me asking. When she reached for my hand not out of habit, but intention. And me, learning not to look for signs of betrayal in every silence. We didn't become perfect, but we became aware. And that changed everything. One evening, months later, we sat on the same couch where it had all started. Same spot, same quiet room. Megan rested her head against my shoulder. I almost lost you, she said softly. I didn't respond right away. Yeah, I said finally. She turned slightly. Why didn't you leave? I thought about that. Really thought about it. Because you came back, I said. Not physically. Not immediately. But in the only way that mattered. Through truth. Through choice. Through effort. I'm still here because you chose this, I added. Her eyes filled slightly. I'll keep choosing it, she said. I nodded. That's the only way this works. Silence settled between us. But this time, it felt steady, not fragile. Real. Later that night, as I turned off the lights, I caught a glimpse of her phone on the table. No hidden screen. No guarded movements. No secrets. Just a phone. And that's when I realized something. It was never really about Facebook. Or Mark. It was about the space between us. The things we didn't say. The feelings we didn't say. The distance we let grow. That's where everything started. And that's what we had finally faced. Because in the end, it's not the person who shows up from your past that destroys your relationship. It's what was already missing that lets them in.